KristinJohansson, and if you can't tell, I attend the 9 o'clock service most days, which is why I'm standing up here in heels and a dress, kind of confused by this lack of a podium. So, but I'm good. My husband Jake and I, along with our 3 children, started attending First Church just before pumpkin patch season last fall. We talk about everything in terms of Stewman seasons, pumpkin patch season, barbecue season, you name it. When Hal approached me about a month ago to speak during the stewardship campaign, I'm fairly sure I said no before he ever managed to finish his sentence. Not because I'm afraid of speaking in public, not because we don't absolutely love this church, but I truly dislike stewardship campaigns at churches. As a little background, we're a retired military family, and we've moved every 2 to 3 years throughout our lives prior to settling in Port Orange. So inevitably, we would move during the summer, and we would begin the process of church shopping right around the beginning of school. As a consequence, our first introduction to most churches that we've attended has been the finance drive. So it's kind of a difficult way to be welcomed into a new church, and it often says things about a church you're not really ready to hear when you're brand new and kind of unsure of your personal commitment. And for anybody maybe who's grown up in a family that doesn't discuss money at the dinner table, it feels pretty invasive. So my gut reaction is to lower my eyes, endure the pleas for money, write up my own pledge card, and just wait for November to roll around. So once I admitted to myself the reason I said no, I realized that I'm actually a very appropriate person to speak up here today, because I'm sure I'm not the only person who's ever felt this way during a finance drive. But even more importantly, this is the first time I've come to a church and not felt awkward in October, and not gone out of my way to avoid interaction during this month of pledging. Well, why is that? Well, I tell many people that the reason we settled at First Church last fall is because before we ever left the sanctuary on our first visit here, my children looked at me and said, "Can this be our new church?" And any parent knows that that's enough to stop you in your tracks and look no further. So, but what really impressed us? What made us feel comfortable and at home here? What made us want to be part of something bigger than ourselves? I'll tell you, it truly all started with Tony Sorrell and grew from there. We have never been part of a church that is so dedicated to outreach and ministry in so many different ways, and our first introduction to that here was Stewman. My boys connected with Tony immediately, and it became obvious how many other teens feel the same way. Tony's ability to reach beyond the walls of our building and draw students to God is truly a gift. And we've been very blessed by that gift. So this is by far the most active youth group we've ever been a part of, and the most diverse youth group as well. Sure, the kids love the activities and the retreats and the parties, but even more so, they love their leaders. They love their connection with other Christian teens, and they love the message being shared. For that experience alone, I wish I could pledge enough to double Tony's salary, as I'm sure he does. So thank you very much, Tony. For the first few months we were here, we were a bit disappointed not to have too many activities to draw in my youngest son, but we could tell that First Church was dedicated to reaching kids of all ages, as well as the young families that bring them here. So very rapidly, we were blessed by Susie Rodriguez and her KidMin program. In an extremely short time, she was able to kickstart a robust ministry that includes children's church, Sunday school, Kid Midnight, family nights, not to mention a phenomenal vacation Bible study, and now even after school care. So my son now begs me to let him attend each and every event that she has planned, so needless to say, like Tony, she too truly has a gift for connecting with kids. We feel so amazingly blessed by Susie and Tony and these children and youth programs and the influence that they have over our kids. That alone is enough just to send our kids here and have us attend church. But what makes us truly want to invest ourselves through our talents, our gifts, of course our money, and our service is the overall dedication to ministry that we do feel here. The outreach is palpable. We are a church that doesn't just pay for our own comfortable worship experience, fun fellowship activities, and inward fulfillment. We reach beyond our walls into the community. It's this outreach that makes you want to be part of something bigger than yourself. I see God in action through Stewman and KidMin, along with Room at the Inn, summer mission trips, Derbyshire Place, the list goes on and on. I'm drawn to invest in this phenomenal church, led by our enthusiastic, approachable, and caring pastor, as well as the rest of our amazing staff. I've always donated and pledged to churches that we've attended, but here at First Church, I truly want to invest. I need to invest. I feel God's call here. I get significantly more out of this relationship than I put in. God calls us to look outside of ourselves, and in doing so, we grow with God and deepen our relationship with Him. So I'm blessed by this church, and I happily give back to support God's work here and make a difference to this community, to my family, and ultimately to me.
Thank you, Kristen. Wow. One short housekeeping note, because after that there's nothing else you can say. You may have started to receive the pledge cards in the mail. They went out at the end of the week. Ronnie and the office staff really did yeoman's work in hustling and getting these things out. The pledge cards, we'd like you to take and consider prayerfully your gift, and we will return them on November 13th, the Commitment Sunday. And we're going to come up and deposit them at the altar and have a Commitment Sunday out of it. If for some reason you can't be here on the 13th, then feel free to bring them in earlier or mail them in or whatever. But we would love to have you be a part of this Commitment Sunday on the 13th. Thank you so much.